string of Southpaws. The run continues on Ingle Radio, the podcast. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Darren Millard, along with the co-founders of Ingle Magazine, David Hutchison and Kevin Woodley. Today, we are going to have our feature interview chatting with Carey Lindgren, a Montreal Canadian. He's played 18 games in the National Hockey League over a few years, coming out of the 3-year run at St. Cloud State. And Carey is going to take us through what he's doing during the pause, as well as some of his training exercises and what he goes through during the course of a professional game, like timeouts and his relationship with Carey Price. A whole lot to get to in this conversation with Carey Lindgren and David Hutchison as we bring in the fellas and say hello. And I gave you an assignment last week, Woody and Hutch, and it was how many weeks or how many days, how much time would a National Hockey League goaltenders require to feel like they were settled in after the pause to make sure that they were ready to go back to work? And well, I did the homework for us. And the bare minimum, guys, is goaltenders say they need 2 weeks. 2 weeks of 2 weeks of practice, not games, not exhibitions, simulated games or anything like that, but 2 weeks of practice to go from nothing to being ready to play games. And that is the bare minimum. So Woody, let's start with you. That sound about right?
I think there are probably guys I talk to that could do it faster just based on the work they're doing, even not being able to get on the ice. And then there are going to be guys who, based on the work they're not doing, are going to need that and maybe more. So without naming names, it really is interesting to see just the split between the work being done. At the end of the day, none of them can get on the ice. So maybe it doesn't matter that one's doing more between the ears mental training or more juggling or more ball work or as long as they're
more
in
tennis,
shape.
As we'll hear shortly. Another
favorite, Henrik Lundqvist uses tennis in the off season as well. So I am kind of curious to see where this all comes out. 2 weeks sounds fair. I'm just kind of be curious where they're going to get the 2 weeks with time being such a crunch, whether they'll, as much as it may be a reality and a minimum for most of them, is it going to be realistic for the league? We obviously have no idea, but fascinated to see how this all plays out, as I'm sure everyone is. We just want to see it.
So, Hutch, here's the difference between 1 week, if people were wondering why they couldn't come back in 1 week, and why they would need the second week. And guys said they need the second week to get through the soreness stage, where you come back and your body breaks down a little bit, and you got to recover from that process, and then be in a place where you feel good again. Because after a week, everybody could play after a week, but their bodies are sore, they're tight, they're a little banged up, and they just need that extra week to get through that hump and feel solid again.
I think physiologically what you're saying makes a whole lot of sense. Funny, Darren, I was having flashbacks to high school when you first said that we had homework this week, and I was wondering how I was going to convince the teacher that I'd done my homework. But at least you laid one out there that's a little bit more in my wheelhouse with physiology. I would think that, not just recovering, but it's probably hard to handle the things that you really want to refine in that first week while you're getting your legs underneath you. Because just remember, at the beginning of the season, when we're heading into training camp, guys have been skating in the summer. And right now, guys are not skating. So this is almost like, depending on how long this goes, this would almost be like opening up training camp at the beginning of August, where guys haven't been on the ice in July, and now you've got to be ready to go. So this is, I think, a very different adaptation. Or we're going back to the 60s to find out what training camp looked like, because not much is going on.
I think it's closer to that.
Yeah, so it's very much uncharted territory if they're going to be turning around in a hurry. And I don't know, maybe they need to hire a couple of beer leaguers or something, because we're ready to get into game shape after one skate, aren't we?
Groins, hamstrings are going to be a very watched part of the bodies.
So I've got a question for Woody, because you're very good at talking about goaltender X fitting team Y's particular style of play and all these matchups. Don't have to name names, of course, but do you believe that some guys will be better coming out of this pause than others because of the way they play, not because of their personal habits away from the rink, but just because of the way they play the game?
I think there are probably guys, and how much of it is style and just how much of it is between the ears. Is the confidence built in? Do they have to build their confidence through performance? There are going to be guys that are better than others out of the gate. I think you look historically at how guys do early in a season to see if there are trends there. I don't have any names in front of me. I haven't done that research to see whether a guy...
Tuukka used to struggle early.
Yeah.
She's kind of shrugged that off a little bit lately.
Luongo was the same way through much of his career. October was a nightmare, right? Obviously, he doesn't have to worry about it now. But I think you look at that history and that track record, and I think you probably factor that in, that's part of what they traditionally struggle with. In terms of what style might sort of struggle the most, I think, the more you everybody relies on reads and rhythm and timing to various degrees, right? Like we all rely on it as a goaltender, that timing and that rhythm and feeling good. But I think certain styles, guys with more movement in their game, guys that play with a little more flow, I think Tuukka would definitely fit this mold over the course of his career, although it's evolved certainly, tend to be the ones. And the more you move, the more moving parts you have, the more you play with backwards flow, the more reliant you tend to be on that rhythm and timing element. I mean, and then the tendency would be the longer it takes you to get comfortable with the feel and flow of a game. Is it an absolute? Does it apply to everyone? Are they all the same? No, of course not. Like that's what we love about the position. There are no absolutes. But I think there are probably trends within there where if you looked at the guys who start well and don't start well, you'd start to see some style similarities between the two groups. And the guys that play with a little more movement, a little more flow, are ones that I think traditionally have taken longer to get going.
Yeah, that's it's going to be a real issue, and interesting part of the game to watch, whether or not goaltenders can jump right back in. Players will have their own challenges. Skaters will have their own challenges, but goaltenders trying to find that comfort level, and whether or not they get regular season games or not. There is a good chance that we've seen the last of the regular season, and the playoffs will be what waits for us on the other side of the pause. I'm not saying that that's for sure, and the Lions probably moved more towards playing some regular season games than we saw a couple of weeks ago. But if it is the case, who do you think is the like 5-3, whatever number we want to use for Vezina Trophy candidates right now? Hutch, let's start with you and give me a couple of names that jump out to you for Vezina Trophy candidacy, because to be fair, we've played 9/10 of the season.
Well, I'm obviously the perfect guy to talk to about this because my predictions at In Goal over the years have been wildly off. I have no hope of ever predicting this award. The closest I came was 365 days off when I think I predicted Pekka would win it a year before he did. But otherwise, please don't check the archives for who I said would win this year. As we said before, I think Vasilevsky is the guy that will win because it's chosen by NHL general managers, not by the analytics community, not by goaltending coaches, not by Kevin Woodley, unfortunately. So wins are paramount. Wins are paramount, and he's also, got the pedigree and he's got the style that ability to make those, highlight reel game-saving stops that stick in people's minds. So I think Vasilevsky, I think Tuukka also for pedigree, but is also having an outstanding season. Definitely one of my favorites. But as we said, he's probably going to be out of the running, at least for the top spot because of workload. And for those that like to do comparisons, because of course his partner's having a good year as well. Would he pop into the analytics though?
Well, Vasilevsky, you could be right. Like, I guess you could be right. He could win because he leads the league in wins,
or I've cursed him.
The that could be it. The Hutch curse, and the general managers have trouble looking beyond that. But God, I hope they use this time. If this really is the end of the season, and we're just going to base it on what's happened to date, please tell me more of them are taking the time to actually talk to their goalie coaches. I know some do. I know some have for years. At least sought out the opinion of their goalie coaches, most of whom these days have access to analytics that can measure and adjust shot quality before they make this decision, before they place this vote. This is not to discredit Andrei Vasilevskiy in the slightest.
But here's the thing, though, Woody, is we're 6 weeks since the last game.
Good. So you should lean on the math even more than you did before.
Okay, yeah, you should. And then if you come back and play some regular season games, 3 or 4, then there's the recency bias. I think that the voting this year is going to be wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, it could be. And that might favor Vasilevskiy because maybe they just look at wins even more than they do in the past. And again, Vasilevskiy last year, the analytics, and I'm not talking the public analytics, with all due respect to the people that put them together and chart them using NHL play-by-play, because they're incredible. The talent, the brains behind some of those things, but they're working, in my opinion, with flawed and limited data. I'm talking about looking at stuff that's contextualized, that includes things like screens and traffic and cross-ice passes. I'm talking about proprietary analytics like ClearSight Analytics, which is, I just happen to have a password right here. We've talked to Stephen Valaket about it. Last year, Vasilevskiy was quite deserving. In addition to all the numbers that GMs love, like wins and shutouts and all those things, and raw save percentage, he was actually the top goalie in the league in terms of goals, the amount of goals he actually prevented based on, compared to expected based on all those measures of shot quality. The only guy close to him, incidentally, was Carey Price, who didn't even finish top 3. This year, Vasilevskiy is way down the list. Like adjusted save percentage, he's 28th in the league. And the number 1 guy is Tuukka Rask, who I'm with you, Hutch, would be deserving to be in this conversation, but probably gets not left out of it, but dropped out of the top spot because A, Jarro Halak is also playing well, but B, the fact Jarro Halak plays as much as he does limits the amount of workload, limits the wins for Tuukka, but also limits his opportunity to save his team goals. Behind him in second is Jacob Markstrom, and behind him in third in terms of save percentage above expected is Connor Hellebuyck, who would be my winner. Because when we switch over to the actual goals they've saved their teams, Hellebuck's number 1. 24 goals better than expected based on shot quality. Connor Hellebuyck leads the NHL by a pretty good bit. Number 2, and a guy who would be a finalist for me but won't be on anyone else's ballots, is Jacob Markstrom. Number 3, Tuukka Rask, who should and will be a finalist. To find Andrei Vasilevskiy, I got to go all the way down again to 28th in the National Hockey League. He should not be in this conversation this year. As much as he led it last year, they've been a better team in front of him defensively. They weren't great overall in the start of the season. He didn't pile up the wins. He's been on a heater in the second half. I'm sure if I scroll the tab over from January 1st, Vasilevskiy rockets up this list. But we're not talking about January 1st on. We're talking the entire season. And Connor Hellebuyck, start to finish, has been number 1. Markstrom, until he got hurt, was up there right with him and is right below him now. Tuukka Rask. It's fascinating to look at this. Those are my top 3 right there. Hellebuyck, Rask, Markstrom. The other guy, and guys who, this is where I love looking at this stuff, like the perception. You know who would be 4th based on this voting? And he's a guy that around the league, I think everybody goes, he's a product of the system. The team's great defensively. They don't lean on their goaltenders as much. Jordan.
Can I guess?
Well, I gave it away, but go for it.
Just heard it.
Were you gonna guess?
You ask a question. Yeah. I was gonna guess.
And who'd you have?
Anders Nielsen.
Actually, no.
No. Darn it.
I screwed it up. I'm sorry. I screwed it up. I started saying Jordan Binnington. Like we talk about narratives. And Vasilevskiy again wasn't a narrative last year. He was that good. This year, having him in that conversation is narrative driven. It's based on past. It's based on history. It's based on we love the style. Jordan Binnington's a guy that people like just say, great defense. Look at that big bad defense in St. Louis boxing out, making their life easier. Binnington saved 16.22 goals above expected in the NHL this season. That is 4th, behind only Hellebuyck, Markstrom, and Rask. So,
but you can't go just on numbers. There has to be a hybrid angle to voting on the best goaltender.
So what numbers are we using? Like the GMs use wins, and that's less of a goalie statistic than this is.
True.
So
no, but I mean between Valaket's data and then the eye test. There's got to be
but that's
a mix of it all.
And I agree. There will be, and GMs will go to, they'll use data, just crappy data. They'll go back to wins. That's what they always love.
I just mean, to be realistic, there's going to be a reputation factor. There's going to be the eye test. There's going to be the data.
It's quite often, we've seen it historically, it's been a career achievement award, right? Like guys didn't win it for years, and then, we better give this guy one. He had a good season, and he probably deserved to be in it, in the running before. That stuff all counts. But I love when people say eye test. Because are you telling me that you've watched every goalie play every game and you can sort of in your mind's eye figure out which one was the best?
No.
At the end of the day, unless we can filter down and actually measure them based on things like shot quality, how the hell do you compare them?
Or if the goaltender was really good against your team for 3 or 4 games.
Right, and that happens because that's, again, general managers voting, right? Like we could have guys.
Okay, here's my 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go Tuukka, Hellebuck, and Vasilevsky. And Tuukka wins, Hellebuck second, Vasilevsky is your Vezina Trophy finalist. Those are your 3 Vezina Trophy finalists with Tuukka, Hellebuck, and Vasilevsky in that order. Give me your 3.
Write them down.
Hutch has got Vasilevsky. Did you go 2-3, Hutch?
Vasa, Tuukka, and I would have said Hellebuck 3.
Okay. Millard, you got Tuukka,
Hellebuck, Vasilevsky.
And I'm going Hellebuck, Tuukka. Oh, now do I stick to my guns and the GMs are good.
See, there you go.
GMs are we've done this at Ingle. Paul Campbell's written it up every year. Here's who. So
are you going Binnington or are you going to go Vasilevsky?
Here's who should win the Vezina. Here's who the GMs will vote. And he's actually remarkably accurate in terms of picking who the GMs will vote because they're so transparent in their decision making. It's always around wins. So I would go Vasilevsky, not because I think he should win.
No, who would you vote your top 3?
My 3 would actually be Hellebuck, Rask, and Markstrom.
Okay.
And Markstrom won't even be in the top 10.
No, that's just you being contrarian, but I understand that.
Oh, it's my Vancouver bias.
Well, and Markstrom was having a sensational season and then got hurt. And unfortunately, he just will be penalized because of that.
He will be, but just so you know, Jacob Markstrom has faced, 300 more shots than Tuukka Rask despite being hurt.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is incredible for a counterpoint.
So boys, we post this over at Ingle. We post every podcast for those folks who listen on iTunes or your favorite podcast provider. You can head over to ingolmag.com and we post the podcast there, and I will add a little poll to the bottom of this week.
Okay,
we'll put each of the people that we have nominated, or nomination's probably not the word, but speculated about. And we'll see what our readers think.
Well, so I want to go one step further. We've each got a different winner. So whoever
just
gets
put the winners down?
No, I just want to know
winner take all.
I want to know what the side bet is, and if we can get back to a state of normalcy, do we just fly to Vegas and whoever wins gets to have dinner from the other 2 guys at Millard's place?
Works for me. At Millard's place, awesome. It'll be Kentucky Fried Takeout.
That was a conversation with a 7-year-old and a parent that you guys just had. Woody trying to get a question out and Hutch just jumping.
Well, it's the only way you can get a word in with Woody.
It's true.
I do my best. I'm learning.
I am trying to help you out, Hutcher. This is the only way you're getting an invite to Vegas.
Oh, I figured.
When the city's in lockdown too.
We'll have a side bet. If it's not Vasa, I'll shave my head.
Oh, well, that's good. You're really going out on a limb there. Although, by the looks of it, you do have a little COVID mullet going.
It's not much of a risk. I get Maddie to shave my head all the time. Woody, not to take us too far down the garden path in another direction, but I'm a little curious while you're looking at those stats, because you mentioned Carey did so well last year. Where's he line up now?
3.46 goals saved, sort of their goal differential, they call it. So he's in a positive 3.46, which should be goals saved above expected. Puts him 24th in the league, puts him in a grouping sort of just below Semyon Varlamov. James Reimer is in that neighborhood. Just looking at some of the other names. Puts him above Andre Vasilevsky, frankly, by half a goal. Mm-hmm. And just a hair behind Ben Bishop, who might be another name that finds himself in this conversation. So that's in terms of goals saved above expected. I'm just taking a quick look here, scrolling over to save percentage above expected or compared to expected, and scrolling down. Nothing like looking down lists while doing live radio.
And doing play-by-play of it.
See if I can find Carey Price.
And he touches the mouse, and he clicks on the mouse. The screen is scrolling.
The fact he's had to scroll this far.
Darren, come on. You've got to put out one of these play-by-plays of your pets or something that we're seeing all over Facebook.
I do have my dogs. I recorded them the other day going down to be fed.
Are you going to send that along?
We have some big news coming up regarding Carey Price that I'm going to save for after the interview. And we'll bring you that in just a little bit. But some big in-goal magazine with Carey Price details coming up in just a little bit. But first, now we rejoin Woody live in progress.
So I couldn't actually find him on that one list. I may have filtered something wrong. But I'll tell you this: you know who leads the NHL in high percentage shots against? In other words, who faces the most tough shots in the National Hockey League this season? That would be Carey Price, number one, 357 of them. Guess who's second on it?
Jacob Markstrom.
Connor Hellebuck. So there you go.
Who's the top five? Do you have the top five there?
Carey Price, Connor Hellebuck, Braden Holtby, who I think, everybody likes to point out he's having, a tougher season statistically. And I'm not saying his adjusted numbers aren't great, but there's the third highest high danger shots or high percentage shots. Number 4 is Sergei Bobrovsky. Probably not a surprise if you've ever watched the Florida Panthers try and play in their own end. David Rittich is number 6, number 5. That might surprise some people. Freddie Anderson, number 6. That probably doesn't surprise people. And look, speaking of narratives, Jordan Binnington, number 7. Marc-Andre Fleury, number 8. Sees a lot of rubber. Jacob Markstrom, number 9. And John Gibson, who I think a lot of people feel is underwater and under fire on a nightly basis, actually ranks 10th when it comes to high danger or high percentage shots faced this season.
And we can't forget that it's a mathematical model that somebody has created. And mathematical models are imperfect. I believe, based as much on your belief in this, Kevin, as anybody's, that is the best we have right now. But isn't it interesting that the guys facing the most high danger shots, with the exception of Hellebuck and Binnington, are fairly far down the list? And that might suggest to me that it's contributing a little too much to this metric, or at least it really reinforces that Hellebuck is having a fantastic season.
Well, I think that it can become cumulative. In other words, like and there are so many different, like the shot types that involve high danger: breakaways, one-timers, broken plays, rebounds, slot line plays, deflection screens, slot area shots. And you could filter through all different aspects and see who's seeing the most and having the most success against all those types of things. Hellebuck, the only guy who's above water out of those top 5, they're all actually giving up below expected. David Rittich is the only one who's actually saving more than he's expected, and Jordan Binnington saving more than he's expected out of those high danger shots. So, it's not perfect, no. But it's better than anything else we have. Like in terms of weighting and measuring and seeing, like the idea that all shots are created equal, or that we can measure all shots based on where it came from on the ice and come up with the same type of formula. I mean, to me, this is a lot better. And I do think it's cumulative. If that slot line pass gets through 10 times, we've seen it in Edmonton, how many years where Oilers goalies suck, and then they go somewhere else and they're great. Because if that play gets to the back door 10 times in a row, or the first 9 times, chances are you cheat for it on the 10th. So if you're behind a team like that year after year, like Carey has been in Montreal, I think it's harder. Holtby too in Washington. I think it's harder to sort of trust what's in front of you when it fails as often as it does for more than a year or two at a time.
Put a bow on it this way: easier be above water when it's frozen, and we hope that they're back on the ice soon. We'll take it in a different direction. Head south with the Southpaw discussion. Charlie Lindgren is a goaltender with the Montreal Canadiens organization. Bid his time with the St. Cloud State organization in NCAA, and then turned professional. And he's got a great background, really cool story with his family. and he's right now back home, but ready, chomping at the bit to get back on the ice. And he joined David Hutchison in conversation, the feature interview on In Goal Radio, the podcast.
Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
So you're home in Minnesota now?
Home in Minnesota, yeah, South Minneapolis. So, yeah, I've been home for over a month now, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. How do you spend your time trying to stay ready? I mean, for all we know, a month from now you're back on the ice, or even sooner, or it could be later. How do you manage that?
Well, you like as an athlete, you have to stay in shape. I got like a stationary bike from about 1950 down in my basement that I kind of hop on to work on some cardio, and then I do a good amount of stretching, and then playing tennis. I think tennis is a fun way too to make sure I stay in shape. Safe sport, social distancing, and very competitive. So those are kind of a couple things I like doing. And then I got some dumbbells, only like a 5 and 10 pound, which it's kind of limited when it's light like that. I'm not saying I'm a strong guy, but so just doing some things with that too. But yeah, with not knowing what's going on, like you have to stay in shape, and as an athlete, that's what everyone expects out of you.
Montreal's pretty high up on their sports science. Read some interesting articles actually this week all about the program. Are they sending you things to stay ready?
Yeah, so the trainer there, Patty, he checks in with me once a week and just kind of asks how I'm doing and making sure I'm staying on top of things. So he gives me some links to different things, and they do a great job over there, and they're staying on top of us and making sure we're staying on top of everything.
Do you do any sort of hand-eye work at home or anything like that?
I've been doing some juggling lately. For the last few years, I've worked with Josh Tucker. I'm sure you know Josh, or at least have heard of
Josh
him.
Well, yeah.
So I've been doing some juggling, and then I think tennis too, honestly, is a great way to making sure you're staying on top of your eyes and your hand eye, and I think it's a great way. So tennis, I think, helps out a lot.
Okay, well, we actually typically start these just looking back to your beginnings as a goaltender, your beginnings in hockey. I'm curious to know when you first started playing hockey, when you first became a goaltender, and what is it that made you become a goaltender? Because your story is a little different. Quite often the goalie's the younger brother who gets forced in by the older brother, but I know your situation's a bit reversed. So
yeah. So
tell us your origin story.
So I probably started playing hockey when I was 4 years old, I suppose. And then, I kind of wanted to be a goalie because my dad was a goalie. My dad,
okay.
He played at Roosevelt High School in Minnesota, and then he played for the St. Paul Vulcans, and then played at the University of Michigan. So I always wanted to be like my dad, and he wouldn't let me be a goalie until I was age 10, though. So I started out as a forward. Thought I was a pretty good forward, actually, but age 10, I kind of knew what I wanted to do, and switched to goalie. And my first game was a wake-up call, letting 13 goals. I'll never forget it. My parents will never forget it. And not the way you want to start, but still, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And my dad gave me every opportunity. My mom gave me every opportunity. Started off working with Rob Stauber at Stauber's Gold Crease. Had some great instructors there. Seriously, when I look back, besides my dad, Stauber's Gold Crease, when I was really young, starting off, they pushed me, and as a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, that's super important, just to make sure you have that competitive edge. And started off at Stauber's Gold Crease. My dad was my first goalie coach as well. So up until I was about 13, I think my dad was my goalie coach. I worked closely with Rob Stauber. And then
do you and your father ever talk things over even now? Like, do you get a phone call every now and then about a professional game?
Yeah, I still talk to him every single day. So, he'll let me know what he sees during games, and still, like, he's the guy I want to listen to, just because he knows my game. He's seen me play so many games. So, his opinion is very important to me.
Do you have any advice for goalie parents? Just talk to me about that relationship with your dad, and how's a goalie parent handle it the best way so they can be supportive and help their kid grow in the game?
Well, I think what was awesome about my dad is he had that perfect balance of like pushing me really hard, but not being like too much. And I think, now you can see a lot of parents kind of pushing their kids almost a little over the edge. And my dad was able to find that balance where he pushed me extremely hard, but at the same time, I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed learning. And I think that was really important because you don't want to be too hard on your kids, but at the same time, you want to teach them how to work hard for sure.
And you have to know your kid really well, so
And you have to know, you got to know how to push your kid's buttons, and he was able to do that. I mean, there were times where he'd tell me things I wouldn't want to hear, but things that I had to hear. So still, I mean, to this day, I mean, there's no person more instrumental to my career than my dad, for sure.
Oh, that's great. But you have two brothers who play as well.
I got two brothers. So my middle brother, his name's Andrew. He played at St. John's University, Division III, and he actually just finished his career probably a couple months ago now. But had an unbelievable career. I mean, just his college career. I mean, you can look at his stats. I mean, just really lit it up. And he's going to go into firefighting here and some real estate. So his next journey, I think he's very excited for it, and we're very excited for him. And then my brother Ryan, New York Rangers defenseman, and pretty darn good one. So a couple of brothers, made it very competitive growing up. We had a ton of fun, and I think made all three of us better athletes and better people.
Yeah. What did that competitiveness together bring to your game today? How has that helped you?
Oh, I mean, talk about another instrumental component. I mean, growing up, we competed on everything we did. I mean, video games, street hockey, tennis, golf. I mean, everything. I mean, it's just all out. It's war. I mean, even just playing tennis today with my brother and my dad. I mean, it's just there's some rackets being thrown. It's
Really?
intense. I mean, that's how it is. I mean, that's why. Again, that's a big reason why me and my siblings, I think, got to where we are, just because there was really, if we're playing anything, you had to give it your all, else you're going to get your butt kicked. So it was it's a fun way to grow up, and always interesting.
That's awesome.
Me being the oldest too, I had to make sure that none of them ever beat me in anything. So that was just
there's a little pressure there, isn't there?
There's some pressure there, a little extra motivation. So, but
has it taught you anything though about controlling those emotions as well? Because that's key to being a goaltender.
100%. I mean, that's very important. So, and that's something I'm still working on every single day, is being able to control my emotions. And when I'm going out and competing with my brothers and my dad, I mean, that's just that's a good way to do it, just because the stakes are raised, and like you said, the pressure's on. So, when you get down a couple points or a couple goals or whatever it may be, you got to make sure you stay level-headed, or else you're going to lose it. So, and I've been there, and I've lost it before. I'll admit I've lost it. You just gotta make sure you just try to stay as calm as you can.
No doubt. His experience is obviously the best teacher in many ways, and it sounds like that has been for you anyway.
Yep.
But do you work with anybody on the mental side of the game?
Or
do you just work on your own in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I think for myself, it's a lot of I like reading a lot of books, and then even YouTube videos. Just I feel like at this point I know how to control my mind, and I think that mental game, as you know, is so critical. So I think I know kind of what makes me tick now, and kind of got a better grasp on how to control my mind. So I credit that a lot to books and videos.
So I know you and I talked offline about that, but while we're doing this here, any recommendations on books for younger goaltenders to look at?
Yeah, I mean, I think I told you, As a Man Thinketh is still that's my favorite one. And then even I read a book on Julian Edelman for the Patriots, Tony Dungy. I like reading about other people's experiences too, and kind of how they got to where they are today. And, I just try to take a little bit of everything from everyone.
Sounds like a guy who was destined to be a university hockey player.
Exactly. Yeah, that helped.
So you left university in your senior year to sign with Montreal.
Yep.
Talk about the hockey side in a second. Have you finished the degree, or are you planning to finish it off?
I probably got about 2 or 3 classes left. So, just slowly chipping away at it. And, I promised my mom, like a good kid, would, that, I'm going to get her done. So just a matter of time. I might try to do a couple this summer, and then, maybe next fall or spring, try to finish it all up.
Promises to mom, often pretty important
Very
things,
important.
aren't they?
Very important. Yeah.
So back to growing up. Typically, as we mentioned, it's the younger brother who gets forced into net by the older brother. Did you sort of force your younger brother to become a forward defenseman so you'd have somebody to shoot on you?
I didn't. And kind of going back to that competitive piece, like, my youngest brother, I wouldn't let him shoot on me until, honestly, I was probably comfortable with him shooting on me, like, at age probably 19. I was like, I'm not going to skate with him. I did not want him scoring on me. So that's kind of how I was. I did not want to be on the ice with him. So, I never forced him to be a defenseman. He just wanted no part in being a goalie.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. When you were growing up, obviously dad's one of your favorite goalies you looked up to, but any pros you looked up to as a youngster?
Right away, from what I can remember, my first favorite goalie was Nikolai Habibulin, actually, with Tampa Bay.
Nice.
And that must have been in the early 2000s. They call him the Bulin Wall. And I took a liking to him early. And then the other guy I really, really enjoyed was Cam Ward from Carolina. And I think that kind of started with I loved his pads, loved the old icebergs. And obviously, his first year there in Carolina, I think it was 05, 06, if I'm not mistaken. I just really took a liking to him, and I loved his game. And just so happens that my first NHL game ended up being against Cam Ward, which is pretty nuts.
Oh, great. So you get a chance to meet him, obviously, at some point?
Never did. I've never met him.
Never did.
I've never met him. So he's one guy that I'd for sure want to meet. But yeah, just really enjoyed his style. Just a guy that would make some acrobatic saves, and just a guy that would compete really hard.
Bordeaux, if you're out there listening, Charlie wants to meet you.
100%.
Are you a goalie geek? Like, are you into the gear? Are you into the other guys?
I'm one guy
out there playing?
I'm one guy that's kind of not. For me, I could probably tell you what every guy in the league wears, but I've just never. I like my Vaughn icebergs. I've always those have always kind of stuck with me. I've always liked those, but as far as like knowing specs and all that, I'm not the guy. And you could ask some of my goalie partners. They're pretty dumb when it comes to that stuff, but I just kind of throw on the pads and go play.
There you go. Well, as long as you got the tool that works, that's all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you left St. Cloud to sign with Montreal, and you had your first start in the NHL right out of college. What is that first game like? I know you got the win, which is awesome. But what's it like walking into that dressing room for the first time? That's the Montreal dressing room.
Yeah, it's it's crazy. Honestly, it's first off, my St. Cloud, that was tough to leave. That was had an absolute blast there. Had the privilege of playing on some really good teams there. And then when the NHL calls, comes knocking, you want to go and do that. So yeah, signed with Montreal. Didn't really know what to expect, but I think there was maybe 5 or 6 games left on the schedule, and figured I was going to play one of them. So just was kind of preparing myself and kind of had an idea of what game I was going to play. But, going into those locker rooms, it's pretty intimidating, meeting guys like obviously Carey and, Max Pacioretty, Andre Markov, all those guys. I mean, knowing you're a part of that dressing room, it's as a kid just coming right out of college, fresh out of college, pretty nerve wracking. But they did a really good job of making me feel at home. So pretty lucky to have a good group of guys there.
What's that experience like? Just the first day? I mean, does somebody meet you at the airport and take you to the rink, or?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like looking back on it, it's all kind of a blur. But yeah, I got picked up. It was my first time ever being in Montreal, and you see the French and all that stuff. And it's like, holy cow, I'm here.
Yeah, another big change.
Yeah, which it's pretty crazy. One of my best friends, a little off topic, but we did 2 years of French in high school just in case we were to go play in Montreal. So, I knew some of the basic words, not too many, but yeah, I got picked up and then went to the rink and kind of met all the guys. And Mike Condon was my goalie partner because Pricer was hurt, and he was also, I mean, unbelievable guy. I don't know if you know Condo at all, but
yeah,
really,
he's been great with us.
Really amazing guy, and he helped me out a ton. But yeah, then he kind of just go meet all the guys, and we were actually going to flying to Tampa, I think, that day. So yeah, I mean, you get on a plane with all those guys, and then it's just like anywhere else. You just got to fit in and be a good teammate.
And what's the first game like? What's that jump from NCAA to NHL? That's a big jump.
Yeah, it's a big jump for sure. And I had just watched, playing in Carolina, obviously playing against Cam, and then I had just watched that NC State doc, ESPN 30 for 30. I don't know if you've seen that one, but kind of cool playing that arena. But yeah, I found out I was gonna play, and then obviously my phone just blows up. Got everyone saying good luck and all that stuff, which is awesome. But I just shut my phone off that day and just had to focus on the game. I just kind of went into it as preparing like it's any other game, which is not easy to do. But yeah, obviously was extremely nervous. But again, the guys did a great job of helping me out. And, I remember I was most nervous on the blue line, standing for the national anthem. I was kind of like, I was like shaking. But then, once the puck drops, then it's, go out and play and just do what you've been doing your whole life. And I don't know if you know, but first shot went in. So
I didn't know that. Get it over with.
Not the way you want to start, but what after
well, you just don't have to worry about the shutout after that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. But yeah, and then once that happens, everyone kind of asks like, holy cow, you'd have been so nervous after that, but we really just kind of forgot about it and just settled in and ended up I think the score was 4-2. Getting that first win, I mean, I'm telling you, there's no better feeling than that, and I still to this day say it was the best night of my life. So it was just really, really amazing to and it gave me the confidence to know, hey, you can do this, you can play at this level. Sure. So really, I mean, really incredible for sure.
You how fast before you're on the phone to mom and dad after that game?
They were at the game. So
perfect.
Yeah, they came down, and then Dave Rogalski, who was my goalie coach, another guy that give a ton of credit to. But yeah, it was seeing my parents after the game. I mean, that meant everything to me. So that and again, that's all the hard work paying off right there. So to be able to share it with them was awesome.
What's different on the ice from NCAA to pro? A lot of people have told us in the past that sometimes those jumps are almost easier because the game's a little bit more predictable. But what was your experience?
The structure in the NHL is just incredible. I mean, there's really not a ton of breakdowns. Everyone's in really good position. But players are so smart. They can shoot the puck faster and harder and better passers. So, it's definitely it's a good jump. I mean, for me, playing the NCHC in college that's a high level right there. Played against some good players, but man, it's the NHL. It's the best league in the world. So it was a good sized jump there. But and especially, I remember being in practice and I was getting torn up pretty good. I mean, guys can shoot the puck. I mean, you've seen Max Pacioretty shoot the puck. I mean, he can he gets it off in a heartbeat. So, and my pregame warm up that day wasn't very good, to be quite honest with you. But again, I read a book on Marty Brodeur. I forgot what the book was called. I think it was more of an autobiography, but I think it's his brother. I don't know if he has a brother. Maybe his dad was saying
his dad was a photographer for the Habs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But someone in the book said he got lit up. Brodeur did his first NHL game in warmups, and then went out and I think he played a good game. So again, it's getting lit up in warmups. Before my first NHL game didn't even matter to me. So, I've been playing the game so long, I knew how to play, and I had that confidence. So, went out and played a pretty good game.
So you mentioned your pregame warm up. Maybe we could just sort of start there and give guys an experience for what this is like for you. So not your first game specifically, but today, what's game day look like for you? And actually, even before that, I'm curious to know, do you have any preferences for when you find out when you're playing? And is that what Montreal's doing with you?
I like finding out the day before for sure. That's just my preference. I know, everyone's different, but, I like being able to find out that I'm playing, then kind of get into my routine from there. But, I make sure, obviously, the night before I get a really good night's sleep, go to bed early, and then, get up at a decent time, get up pretty early, get to the rink for pregame skate. And then, I go back and I, have the pasta, chicken, veggies for my, pretty standard pregame meal. I know people are starting to get away from that.
Meal,
yeah. There's people getting away from that a little bit now, but that's still what I have. And then, I usually lay down for 2 hours, try to get a 2-hour nap in me. And then, from there, hop in the shower and then head to the rink. It's about a 20-minute drive for me. I try to get there 2.5 hours early, and then dial it in. I mean, tape my sticks and hop on the foam roll. Get a couple heat pads. I like doing that. I've been doing that for years.
Where do you use those?
What's that?
Where do you use the heat pads?
So I lay down and kind of like the butterfly on my back though, and then I just have my kind of stretching my groin. So I put it on my lower back. I lay on it, and then I put it on my groins too. So I got 2 packs, and I do that. And then we usually have our pregame meetings with the coaches, and then I go and usually play a little bit of 2-touch, little sewer ball, and then
nice.
I get into my dynamic warm up, which I've been doing. I've been doing the same one since I was about first year junior. So since I was 17, pretty much just I like to jog to loosen up, and then kind of get the heart rate going a bit, and then making sure I'm feeling limber and feeling loose. I get into some pretty good stretches, and then and then from there it's just put on the gear and get ready to play.
Get her going.
Yeah, get her going, exactly. So and for me, like, I'm not I wouldn't say I'm too superstitious at all, but I definitely have my routines and things that I feel comfortable with.
Do you get a chance when you're on the ice in this first few years of your career to really appreciate what's happened to you here? Really appreciate how far you've come and look around and enjoy it?
You know what? I've been I'll be the first one to tell you. I mean, I've been very fortunate. Played on some good teams, like I've said. I played with some unbelievable people, and to think that I'm in the National Hockey League is, it's something that I feel extremely blessed and extremely lucky. I mean, it's something that a lot of people work so hard to get there, and to think that I still have a ways to go. There's no question, but to think that I've made it to the NHL, I mean, it's something that I feel extremely extremely proud of.
So during the game, do you have any cues when you're on the ice? Is there anything you're focusing on, whether it's the team you're playing or whether it's just your own game you try and sort of keep your focus with?
Well, I like when it comes to the team I'm playing, I like knowing who's out there. I like knowing different players' strengths and weaknesses, and I like before I play, I like going down the stat sheet and kind of seeing where the opposing team, some of their leaders and points, and kind of who the dangerous guys are. I wouldn't say I go over their video or anything like that. I just kind of like knowing who's on the ice and kind of what their, like I said, what their strengths are. But
does Steph help you with that pregame?
With me and Pricer, he'll talk to us after the pregame meetings with the coaches. He'll give us a couple tips just on the opponent, but nothing too specific. But yeah, I like I said, I like going down the stat sheet and seeing where guys are with points and kind of seeing what lines they're playing on, which is up on the board before the game. But then when I get out there, like for me, and I know a lot of people say the same thing. I don't like to think that much. I just like to go out and play, and my biggest strength is just my compete for sure, and just never giving up on pucks. And I don't like I don't like really thinking that much when I play. Just going out and playing organic and playing like I know how to play.
So that pregame or the pre-scout that you're doing for yourself is really just something that's in the back of your mind, tilt the odds.
Going, like I said, like playing the Capitals. All right. So, Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Oshie, just knowing the guys that are out there, and then, when the game's going on, like I keep an eye on, who's out there on the ice and lefty, righty, what are they going to do? What's their strength? Like Ovechkin shooter, Kuznetsov passer. It's just stuff like that.
So during the game, lots of TV timeouts in the NHLs. How do you like to spend those? Do you skate back to the bench and talk with Pricer? You stay on your own?
I stay on my own. And it's funny because when I watch, a lot of goalies are going to the bench. I'm one of the few goalies I think that I stay on my end of the ice, and I do a little skate from corner to corner. Again, it's not like I'm thinking about anything. It's just routine, and I would try to dodge the people shoveling the snow, and keep moving. And I think there was, and why I don't go to the bench. I think there was a game years ago where I went to the bench, and it was I think it got ugly from there and didn't have a good game. So skating corner to corner, that's always kind of been my go-to thing. So I don't think about anything. I'll watch the Jumbotron or just kind of relax.
Is Carey the same? Does he stay on his own, or does he come and chat with you?
No, he comes to the bench. So then we'll chat a little bit. And again, Carey, pretty relaxed guy, and but yeah, we'll just say a few words, and then he goes back to his net.
Are those game focused, like anything particular, or just trying to keep each other relaxed? No,
it's it can be game focused. Yeah. It's mostly about the game, I think, is what we chat about. I don't think we talk about really anything else, just kind of about what's going on, or maybe I'll talk about what I'm seeing, or he'll tell me what he's seeing too. So a little back and forth, not much, and then he goes to the net.
What's that relationship like off the ice? Is he sort of a mentor with all the experience he has? Is he a quiet leader? I know he's a quiet guy, but what's it like?
He's amazing, honestly. He's been unbelievable to me. In every practice, me and him and Steph Wake get out there 15 minutes prior, and being able to watch him, it's just I'm extremely lucky. Like you said, he's kind of a quiet leader, but we have a really good relationship. So he definitely helps me out, and what he sees, he'll tell me. So very fortunate to have a partner like Pricer.
Yeah, not a bad guy.
Yeah, not a bad guy. So he's watching him before practice and watching him in practice, the way he competes, and just how smart he is. His hockey IQ is just really incredible. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's awesome being around him.
He's coming on in 2 weeks to do a little Q&A with all our members, which
is he
pretty cool for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I can't say enough good things about him. Just a really, really amazing guy. So he's been awesome to me for sure.
Any one thing you try and take from his game and add to yours?
It's just like his calmness, his presence. It's just it's really amazing just watching him work. He's very competitive. I mean, he doesn't let many goals in practice. His high, like I said, his IQ is really it's the highest I've ever seen. The way he moves, quiet movements. I try to take everything. I try to learn a lot from him, which I do. So he comes to the rink and he's extremely prepared. He knows what he wants to get done, and and obviously, he's one of the best in the world. So yeah, it doesn't hurt being around him, that's for sure.
Definitely not. Hockey IQ is something people mention all the time.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe what that is to somebody, and what is it that somebody with a high IQ as a goaltender, how do they display that for you?
It's knowing where the puck's going, being ahead of the shooter. He's just he knows where the puck's going before it gets there. So that's what I would describe hockey IQ as. And he knows where the players are on the ice. He's got great instincts and great hockey instincts. So when you have really great hockey instincts, it's gonna help you out a lot.
Sort of sounds like the Gretzky of goaltending, right?
Exactly.
Where the puck is before anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he's, there's no question he has that. So I've seen him do some pretty incredible things.
What's your development program look like in season? Do you, are you just trying to become a better goalie in general? Do you and Marco and Steph over the last few years, do you have a plan for this season? Here's something I'm trying to work on.
It's kind of like you mentioned, it's more general, just trying to get as good as I can be. And that's, it starts in practice. I'm a guy that shows up early, make sure I'm stretched out, doing all the things off the ice that I have to do. And then when it comes to practice, I mean, Marco will tell you, compete on every puck. Don't give up on any puck at all. I mean, every single puck is yours. And that's kind of what he's instilled in my brain. And, it makes it more fun for the players too, that your teammates, when they have a goalie that is competing really hard on every single puck. I mean, they'll go out and tell you. I mean, it makes them way better too. So it just helps the team out. And but yeah, my focus is getting a little bit better at everything that I can, and that's every single practice. That's my mindset.
So compete, you would obviously list as one of your top sort of traits. What else makes you a good goaltender?
I mean, I'd say I can move pretty well. I'd say I got a good amount of tools in the toolbox. I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm too robotic. I think I can throw a couple different things at shooters, some things that they're maybe not expecting. Yeah, pretty quick. Good glove, things like that. I mean, that's, as when, now I'm 26, I mean, there's just, you got to be at this level pretty good at everything, I think. But, still like you said, my groundwork, my foundation starts with hard work and my competitive nature for sure.
Started in the driveway with your brothers.
Exactly. And that's, and again, like you watch my dad play tennis. I mean, competitor, and we watch what me and my brothers, we watch what he did. We wanted to be him. So it's a lot of my competitive nature comes from my family.
That's great. Sounds like a good place to pretty much wrap things up. One question here, looking back, whether you're talking to young Charlie or you're talking to young Matthew or some other young goaltender, any piece of advice looking back, what would you do differently, or what do you think they should be doing as they're moving up?
Honestly, the one thing I would say is just enjoy the ride. because it does, it goes, when I look at my career, I mean, it goes by so fast. I mean, this season went by in a blink of an eye. I mean, it just, enjoy the ride and just work as hard as you can. Cause my whole goal is, at the end of my career, I want to say that I have no regrets, and no regrets comes from every single day, giving it all. And that's one thing that I like telling younger players is enjoy it and work as hard as you can. I think it's as simple as that.
Perfect way to wrap it up, Charlie.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you taking the time for us.
100%. Thanks a lot.
It just feels like he was meant to be part of the Montreal Canadiens. From the St. Cloud State crest and the logo to Hutch. Did you know that he took French in high school, just in case? Was that one that you stumbled on, or that you kind of knew and let him down?
No, that was total stumble on in the middle of the interview. I had no idea.
Very cool.
Love that moment. And that's why I think, even though he's been pro for a few years now, I still sort of went down that line of what's it like to just arrive there in the room for the first time, to meet the team for the first time. What are you doing when you're on the ice in the TV timeouts? It just felt like an opportunity to talk. I mean, he's so open and relaxed and comfortable that it just felt like an opportunity to go somewhere that we don't go with some other guys. And I was that kid. I don't know about you guys, but when I was at an NHL game as a youngster, and I'm talking sort of 8-9 years old, the play'd be down at the other end, and I'm staring at the goaltender in my end just to sort of see what his routine is and what he's up to and how's he stand and what's he looking at. I was fascinated by everything. And maybe that's why I was asking some of those questions too, because I wonder what they talk about on the ice. I wonder why he does something. And Kevin, we talked offline with Charlie about Nikolai Habibulin being his favorite goaltender growing up, and I mentioned to him that we had observed this routine he has for the TV timeouts, and that it may have involved a couple of snot rockets, and Charlie thought that was kind of funny. Promised to send him what we learned about it, and I'm glad to hear that you found the article, and I'm going to take that and send it on to him today.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I remember, and actually, the sad part was, because this was a different era. I'm looking at the date. I wrote this story in 2011 as part of an Ask a Pro, where we had listener questions submitted to Nikolai Habibulin, and sat down with Nick, and he walked us through some of these questions. And you actually had one of the first ones. This was a routine you noticed. I can't believe back in that era we didn't use video as much, so I never recorded this.
I took a picture of it, I remember, but
it would actually, like, nobody would have ever seen this on television. So you can't go find footage of Nick playing and see this, because it was during TV timeouts. And dude, it was like, put the stick on top of the net and took a drink of water. Sometimes he went to the bench. Sometimes he stayed at the net. I asked him about why he would go to the bench. And when he went to the bench, it would be to get a drink. Like, he would drink the water on the net as part of the routine, and then go to the bench to get another drink. And he told us that was because when the one on the net is just water and the one on the bench has Pedialyte in it. So if he got to the TV timeout and felt dehydrated, he would do his routine where he took the drink of water at the net, but then he would also go to the bench and get the Pedialyte. And it didn't matter whether he took that extra time to go to the bench and get the Pedialyte or not. The routine following the return to the crease was the same every freaking time. And basically, he would skate. So from out of his net, he would skate to the right boards with his back to the net, turn around, and go all the way across to the left boards. So goal line, board to board on the goal line, back to the net. 3 times he would do that. So after his third time, he would then skate to the right face-off circle and do a quick cut back toward his net just below the face-off dot. So he's sort of facing the net and facing the crowd with his sort of back to the face-off dot. He'd fuss with his mask using his blocker hand. He'd blow out those snot rockets on both sides that you talked about, Hutch. Then as he lowered the mask, he'd always check his eye alignment. And then he'd skate back into the net, and he'd stick the end of his stick into the pocket of his glove and push it out. Then he would adjust his glove strap. maybe that doesn't sound that intricate. But if you watched it, it was the exact same thing every time. And I remember watching a couple times because I started to pay attention to it after Hutch directed me on this. And he would go to the bench, get the Pedialyte, come back, do this routine. And I swear to God, they would be lining up for the face-off, and he would still be in the face-off circle, finishing the routine, facing the boards. And I'd be like, is he going to change the routine because they're going to drop the puck? Never once. Just stuck with the routine, never blinked. They're not dropping the puck till he's ready. And he really trusted. And it was funny talking to him. He's like, I don't really pay attention to it or think about it. It's just something that I do every time. I like to move the legs a little bit instead of just standing in the crease. I asked him if it was the same every time, and he's like, probably, but it's not that big a deal. So it's fascinating because it was the same every time. We watched it enough that we documented it. Was like, it just never changes. No visualization. He doesn't look at the crowd when it looks like he's looking at the crowd. And when he's fiddling with this mask, he says he's actually just trying to get the water off his headband and tap the glove and wait for the people to finish with the ice cleaning and go back in. He liked the pocket to be pushed out because it feels like it closes better and the puck will stay in maybe. Sometimes if it gets pushed in, the puck bounces out. So those were just things that became little habits that developed into this huge routine that was like every single time. It was pretty, once you picked up on it, it was hard to look away, and it was fun to sort of watch when it would finish and whether they were waiting on him or he was waiting on them to drop the puck.
That is some gold out of the in-goal vault right there.
2011.
It ties right back into the feature interview. Love it. That is just fascinating stuff. And speaking of Carey Price, partners, because Price was part of that conversation and the topic of conversation with Hutch and Charlie Lindgren. Hutch, we've got some big news about Carey Price and In Goal Magazine.
We sure do. We've had a couple of really successful webinars now, and I was thinking about Habibul in there. Maybe he wasn't visualizing, but that was for sure a mental technique he was going through. And we had a fantastic webinar last weekend with Pete Fry, the goalie mindset guy. 90 plus people at one time online doing a training session with Pete that will be going up today over at In Goal Mag. And we're enjoying them so much, the interaction with people, the emails and texts we get afterwards as well, that we've got another couple on the schedule. One we're going to hold back coming up this weekend. We haven't put a bow on it quite yet, but the one that we are well prepared for is one with none other than Carey Price on May the 3rd at 1 o'clock. The 3rd at 1 o'clock, a little bit of 31 going on there. We had to fit that in like that because it was fun. We are going to co-host this with Eli Wilson Goaltending. Everybody knows that Woody and I have had the opportunity because of Eli to spend a day with Carey each summer. And Eli spends time working with Carey in the summer and towards the end of the summer in Tri-City as well. So Eli and some of his students, as well as In Goal and our members, will have the opportunity to be part of this webinar with Carey. Bit of a live Q&A. We might be able to do a bit of a podcast around that with some questions from our viewers, our members. And we're also talking about maybe even doing a bit of a live pro read as well. If we can get a couple of drills or a couple of saves, see if Carey could walk through them live as opposed to the ones we're producing. So that'll be very limited in terms of the number of people that are able to do it, but we'll get the signups going out to our members, I would say by the end of this week.
Well, and I'd say it's going to be limited because it's Carey Price and the demand is going to be high, but we're actually investing in increasing our infrastructure on this and broadening the amount of people that are going to be a part of this. So if you are an In Goal Premium member, make sure you keep an eye out on your email. Over the next couple of weeks, we will send out a registration email to everyone who's a part of In Goal Premium, giving them the heads up that they'll have the opportunity to pre-register and get on board for one of what we anticipate will be probably jack it up and do a little investing here to as many as 500 spots to make sure we expand this and give as much an opportunity as everyone to be a part of this. Really involve this In Goal Premium community in this opportunity, because not every day you get to be on a live webinar with Carey Price.
No. I should also mention not all 500 people get a chance to ask a question. it's not going to be a 7-hour.
No, because let's be honest, I'll probably ask all the questions.
Yeah, you'll ask the first 3, and that'll be 5
then we're done.
hours.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's 45 minutes right there. Right.
Looking forward to it, and keep an eye in your inbox for the details of what is on tap potentially this weekend as soon as everything comes together on In Goal Magazine and the In Goal Premium members, In Goal Radio, the podcast, keeping you up to date on that. And the pro reads have been amazing. And the latest one was the Carter Hart pro read. That was outstanding. Loved it. Just so many takeaways on that. Woody Hutch.
Well, we got about 9 more with him too. I mean, that's been the beauty. I shouldn't say beauty, but if you look for silver linings in this for us, obviously at this time of year, normally guys preparing for playoffs, very little practice time. You know, they come through town here in Vancouver and their off days are their off days, and you don't want to disturb that. They're not practicing. They're not on the ice. You're not getting an opportunity to pull video and sit down with them. This has given us an opportunity with a number of guys to do video over Zoom channels and get these pro reads banked. We've got a bunch more with Jake Allen coming, some great ones with Cal Peterson, more great ones with Carter Hart along the lines of what you saw with that first one. And I've got a few more guys lined up as well here over the past little while that have agreed to do it. So you can keep an eye out for Mackenzie Blackwood, Alexander Georgiev, Ryan Miller. These are all guys, Aaron Dell's talked about it too. These are all guys who have kind of indicated that they'd be willing to be a part of the pro read process with us. And so,
and I'm hopping on with Joe Bernier on Thursday and Charlie Lindgren again next week as well. So
yeah, so as much as it sucks, these guys can't be on the ice and we can't get to watch them play games. They've been so gracious with their time to do these pro reads with us, and we're going to turn them out as fast as we can. We had a couple last week. Instead of 1 a week, we went to 2. There's a lot of production that goes into it, but we're doing our best to sort of pump them out for our premium subscribers because I know they have extra time on their hands. Hutch is grinding like crazy to get these done and do all the behind-the-scenes work that, I mean, it's a lot of work to get it from a Zoom call to an actual pro read to mix the video and the audio and everything, and he's been doing a great job. So we're doing our best to keep up with it, and we got some great names coming up for our In Goal Premium readers. So if you're not one already, make sure you go check out the site and see some of the offerings that we have on tap.
Awesome stuff. Time of pause to a period of growth for In Goal Magazine, In Goal Radio, the podcast. Looking forward to that, and as well as, again, that Carey Price webinar that's coming up in just a little bit as we navigate this period that we're kind of making up as we go along, but we're enjoying this part of the ride on In Goal Radio. For David Hutchison, Kevin Woodley, and thanks to Charlie Lindgren, I'm Darren Millard. Thanks for listening to In Goal Radio, the podcast, and we'll chat with you soon.